Central Ohio's cable television leader, this is QUBE.
"30 seconds. Boy, it looks like they're on the money. Next we'll be fading to black, then we'll roll V1 and fade up on V1, sound on.
What was it when by WC Fields?
Stand by with Columbus Live open cart.
If at first you don't...
15. And 10. Ready to fade to black? Fade to black. Ready to roll V1. Roll V1. Ready to fade up V1. Sound on. And fade up V1. Sound on. Ready to dissolve to 1 with open music under mic and EQ. I need some monitor.
Hold back, please.
Ready to dissolve 1 with open music under mic and EQ. And dissolve 1. Open music under mic Q.
Good evening.
Ready 2.
Columbus Alive. Tonight, you're going to be able
Take
to
2.
tip your tic-tac-toe skills.
Ready 1.
Columbus man who went on the program Tic-Tac-Doe.
Take 1. I still need some here. I don't have anything here. There we go.
Tips for you if you should be unfortunate enough to lose your job.
Ready 3.
Oh, what else have we got? What have you got there?
Well, there, I think you know this man. This is, and I'm sure you at home know this man as well, Dennis Carter, the host of
Ready
Nuts
to
and
roll
Bolts.
V1 and
He has
dissolve
hooked up
V1,
to what is
sound on.
called a passive
Okay, you can take
exercise
this back
machine.
down a little
We're going to tell you what
Ready
it
to
is
roll
and
V1,
what it's
dissolve
doing
V1,
to
sound on.
Dennis, and that's first
And roll
tonight
V1.
from Columbus Alive.
And dissolve V1, sound on.
Poor Dennis.
Okay, 2 has a 2 shot. 1 starts a pan at Dennis's feet. 3 has the guest. Good. Sounds good. I gave it to Burton. I hope he got loaded. He did. He's got it.
Open at 2.
I'm opening on a shot at Dennis. Dawn won't be seen until after we see the guest. Yeah, we'll start at his feet. Red is all K2 color rotate. And it's all K2 color rotate. Change serial on K2. Oh man, yeah. Ready to dissolve 1 clean with music under mic and EQ. Ready to dissolve 1 clean music under mic and dissolve 1 clean music under mic Q.
No, we are not making monsters here on Columbus Alive. You all know this man. This is the house.
The Olentangy facility is the production facility. We're also the head end for the system and master control for the system, but mainly our job at Olentangy is to produce the programs that go on QUBE. The production staff is the creative side, so we've been led to believe for many years. They are the producers, the associate producers, on-air talent, directors, production associates, even interns, and they're the people who come up with the ideas and actually put the thoughts together and format the programs that we do on QUBE.
The producer is solely responsible for content. The producer, he or she, is the person who's responsible to make sure all of the elements are there, to make sure the talent understands what he/she has to do, to make sure that the technical aspects are set and ready. The producer's job is also to make sure all of the content is what he/she wants. In the case of Nuts and Bolts, it is my job to make sure that all of the little tapes, all of the little bumpers that are used are exactly what the show should have, that they fit the guidelines of a certain show. A show like Columbus Alive, the producer's job is pretty much different than what I would have to do on Nuts and Bolts, yet it all boils down to the same thing.
Okay, essentially my day starts off with reworking that day's script. Okay, then we go into a meeting and the hosts read down the script and we talk about it. We make changes. Is this interactive phrase correctly? Is this the tone we really want to take? Is this the focus, and so forth? When that script is finalized, right, we start moving on to the next day. I talk to the bookers about what's on the next day. I make sure the writers have that information. If the hosts need additional information or they're unsure about the segments, we talk about that and that'll cover my day till about 5:30 when we go into rehearsal, and then the show goes on at 7.
We all sit down and we have a meeting, so if there's any problems with the script, those problems are ironed out then. Then the majority of the afternoon is usually sitting down and watching the soaps, getting synopsises for those individual soaps that we're talking about today. Also coming up with contest ideas for future shows, writing personalities for future shows.
we sit down and meet after every show and say, okay, last night's show was really good except for blank, blank, and blank. Let's work on that. In some cases, it's a segment dragged too long. In some cases, the guest was totally out of place. So we meet pre-production-wise on fixing all of the mistakes we possibly can, which doesn't mean that the next show is perfect, because what always happens is you fix the leaks in the boats that you had last week, and by next week you got a whole new set that you just can't always find. That's a producer's job. It's always to fix the leaks in the boat and to make the boat work.
If it's the first for both, I'm going to go, when we're done,
The first for boats, and specifically what I do out on the floor is I help Cindy. I direct her and assist her in any way that I can, keeping her abreast as to what's coming up, keeping her on her toes. I help her out with spontaneous questions. If a viewer calls in to ask a question, I'll help her with the phrasing of the question if she needs the help.
What I usually do is I'm listening to content so that I'm on headsets to somebody on the floor that in case a question is missed or I want to shorten or lengthen the interview, I can make those decisions. I'm watching the monitors. Again, it's just a question of overseeing. I mean, is the interview going the way I want to? And if it isn't going the way it was planned or worse than it was planned or whatever, then how to change it out there on the floor. I mean, essentially winging it becomes a version of spontaneous writing almost.
More than twice in 3 years, I believe, is the rule. However, they find a way to get around this by going 366 days before they're on again. But there's a little pack of them that run around and they compare notes and yeah, there's some real experts, some real pros in Los Angeles.
In all of your studying, did any of the questions you studied get asked when you were on the show?
No, there was not.
The toughest part is, by virtue of being on 4 hours a week, is coming up with material to fill that 4 hours and not repeating yourself too much. I don't mind repeating what was a great segment 2 years ago, mainly because I think people haven't seen it, especially if we can come up with a different approach. That's the first toughest thing. The second toughest thing is to find unique approaches to segments that are pretty standard. In other words, if you have a guest who's touring, 8 million cities in 3 days, he's asked X number of questions and you can see his eyes just glaze over. And so what you want to do is come up with the question or the hosting ability or some kind of thing that will make him more exciting than he would be on other shows.
When you clear everything out of the way, our job is what goes on in the QUBE system and the programs that we make. And trying to keep all those folks going together, it's a little bit like sometimes being boss and father and psychiatrist and friend, I hope, to everybody.
Well, here at QUBE we have 3 studios, 2 minicam units, a full remote truck, and all of the associated equipment that goes with it, 21 operators. Say someone coming in from the outside, a new hire, would start off with a studio assignment. Now, in a lot of places in a traditional broadcast setup, they would be assigned to run camera, and that would be all that they do. Now here, we have a lot more flexibility than that. On a studio assignment, the operator is trained for and responsible for virtually any function inside the studio. That may be putting up the set for the show, making sure that it's properly lit, going through and doing putting up the set for the show, making sure that it's properly lit, going through and doing all the setting and lighting for it, which is the first thing that's done with the show when it hits the studio. They are responsible for running camera, but also for audio, which is not only operating the board, but making sure the proper mics are selected, proper placement on the set, any additional sound that needs to be added, such as music or sound effects, anything of that nature, telephone calls that come into the show, those come through the audio board. So someone would be assigned to that, and to switch the show, which is to run the electronic switcher that brings in any and all of the video, be it a camera, a special effect, an outside feed. Anyone that's operating the studio is trained and on a daily assignment basis will go through all of these positions. Now we also have assignments to editing, in which the operator edits all day long. We have all the way from a cuts only editing, which is just to put cuts together in order to form either a full half-hour, hour-long program, or maybe it's just for roll-ins for a particular show. All the way up to then in full effects editing, which is combining, cutting different pieces of tape inside a full control room setup, really, so that we can combine any number of cameras, art cards, special effects, and with the tape that's brought in, can roll 2 or 3 tapes at one time to match them together, and gets very complicated. That's something that an operator normally moves on into after they've had a little more time in the operation. We also have Minicam, with basically remote or portable television setup. They're responsible for doing all their own lighting, their own shooting, their own miking. Everything is brought back into the studio by 2 people as a basically complete package, be it just a complete interview, one-on-one like you and I are doing, or possibly covering an event downtown,
because you only have 3 rounds
something like that.
How well you can do it.
For each of these positions, we have to make sure that people are properly trained, that their talents are taken into consideration, and their wants and desires as far as what they would like to do in the business with their career. All that's taken into account. I try to make sure that they have ample training for it, ample time to become very adept at any one position in operations, and also to try and keep them from getting burned out in any one position, and can move on to something else to keep them very interested, and therefore keep their work level up. People just work better when they're enjoying what they're doing.
Second down from the 24. Bidwell. Complete to Bailing.
Go get him tight one. Zoom in all the way. Ready, 1. And take 1. Follow him back.
Gets inside.
Ready to wipe to the replay. Ready, key K1. Key K1. Ready to lose it. Ready, wipe replay. Lose it. Wipe replay. Start it. Here it is. Ready to key K1. Speed it up.
Steve Bidwell has really got the fever tonight.
Speed it
to
up.
Put the ball in the air, and you see him dropping back on the rollout pattern.
Freeze it. Ready to wipe to 2. Wipe 2.
That's 4 receptions for the senior tight end.
Barrow cracks down near
I don't believe how fast they're playing. Jesus.
And it'll be 2nd and goal. Dublin has already cranked out 7 first downs in the first quarter. There is no score. We have 5.5 minutes to play in period number 1.
3, give me the other
regular season high school
white bench.
game of the week. But next week, we'll be covering the playoffs. More about that later. Bidwell to Falk. Into the end zone.
Okay, ready, go get him 1. Ready, 3, take 3. Ready, 1, take 1. Ready, key K1. Key K1, ready to lose it. Ready to wipe to the replay. Lose it. Wipe replay. Start it. Here it is.
Yards, and he adds 3 more to that total tonight.
Steve, give me a 2 and a 1 minute cue every quarter, please.
Ready to key it. Key it. Ready to freeze it. And
but look at the sheer drive and power.
Freeze. Lose the key. Wipe back to 2. 1, set up for your kick, please. ISO 1. Save that. Okay, roll past a little bit. Okay, go into record.
The first diving handoffs I've ever seen.
Ready, 3. Take 3.
Is good.
Ready, 1. Take 1. Stand by the key K1. Key K1. Cue up the touchdown. Ready to lose the key.
Dublin 7.
And lose the key. Ready to what? Cue it up. Ready to wipe replay. Freeze it.
Very effective.
Here's the touchdown. Wipe replay. And start it nice and slow.
Look at the touchdown again. Watch how close this almost
Officials?
becomes a fumble.
Yeah, we'll try to get
those. On the other hand, how close Bidwell comes to being down on 1 knee before the handoff is made.
We'll come back with officials if we have time. I think we probably will. We will. Come back 1.
Good effort by number 34.
Then ready to wipe to 2.
The drive here
ready to freeze it.
2 of the Bobcats into the end zone.
And
170
freeze. And wipe 2. Then by key K1. Key K1. Ready change.
From Dublin.
ISO 3.
He is the number 4
change.
rusher.
Jim Minor to channel 1.
Now there you look at the officials.
Change.
They always have a tough
ready to
job
lose the
in
key.
Every football game.
And lose it. Ready 1.
99% of the
Take
time.
1. Okay, 2. Tighten up a little bit.
99.
Ready 2. Hand left 2 a little bit.
Oh,
1. What are you doing? What are you doing? Take 2. Take 2.
Dublin ready to kick off now.
1. You were hot.
I had to get the kicker.
Well, you wait till I get off you before you don't swish pan across the field like that. You were on the wrong person. Kill your headset. Cue it up. I'll use it. Ready to wipe to the replay. Ready. Ready nothing. And freeze it. Wipe replay. Start it. There it is. We'll try to get the offensive start font this time if we can. Ready to freeze it. Ready to wipe back to 2.
In the remote truck, we take the control room and the electronic center, put them together, and base the control room out of there. The studio becomes wherever we are. If it's a football game, it becomes the football stadium. If it's at an auto race, it becomes the entire track. It gives us, the flexibility then to go out and shoot anywhere. So most of the difference comes in having to set up your studio from scratch, on the spot, in a short amount of time.
Watch here, he looks, but he thinks better of it, and his tight end cannot
Okay,
get
ready
free.
KK1, ready to wipe back
number 84,
to 1
Todd
perhaps.
Alexander saying, give me the ball.
Ready to freeze it, freeze it. KK1, ready to lose it, ready to wipe to 1. Lose it, wipe 1. Ready 2.
The traffic function is to take all of the programs that we schedule, put them together on a log, and make sure that that log then goes to master control so that all the programs appear on our channels at the proper time and when they're scheduled to appear. Master control then takes that log and they see that the satellite services are incoming and going out onto the system properly, that the right programs are being aired when they should, that the right movies are being aired, that the movies are going from reel to reel whenever they should, and generally being our quality control factor for the system.
The traffic department is responsible for all of the program scheduling on all 30 channels, the FM channel scheduling, all videotape library activities, all metadata and wire services content and operation, premium billing information, commercial advertising scheduling, FCC reporting of copyright information, satellite and microwave scheduling, and basically making sure that Master Control has all of the information they need to run the system, and that comes from us, from the information that we're giving from various units, ranging from Columbus to New York to wherever.
This equipment, if you'd like to take a shot of it, is part of our FM service, and it's 3 channels that we play back continuously 24 hours a day, no commercial interruptions. 2 of the channels now come off the satellite, classical and the beautiful music, but what we have operational in Master Control is the country, soft rock, and album-oriented rock. I'd like to take you over here, show you the Master Control position. This is a representation of all 30 channels. The Master Control operator, who is on duty 24 hours a day, of course they switch, different personnel, follow a log in which every event is listed in a chronological order and time. There's some 400 changes in an 8-hour period. Each change is monitored to ensure that it happens correctly, and if there's a problem with that particular change, then the operator springs into action and makes a correction on it. Particular change, then the operator springs into action and makes a correction on it. The equipment over here to the left is quality control equipment. The engineers and the operators use it to set up standards so that you as viewers at home have a correct video signal according to engineering standards, correct color. Located along the side here are our satellite receivers. We have some 12 now. Shall we go back this way?
Number 6. Hey, I'm running out of cable back here.
This is the videotape playback area. If you could take a shot of our commercial insert center, it's relatively new. It's made up of 4 different automated services. The 5th one being a manual insert. Right now we're inserting on USA Network manually. But how it works, basically CNN or MTV will send a tone at their point of origin to the satellite. From that, we'll receive a signal here on the Earth station, which will activate this VTS equipment. The commercial is automatically inserted on air. It plays for a duration of maybe a minute or 2 minutes, and then takes itself off the air. And the operators then come along and change out tapes. This is a videotape playback area. We have 12 operational racks right now. Each rack basically is one channel. There are 3 machines in any given rack. We're able to sequence from one machine to the next without any interruption in playback, so that you can see a movie completely through, providing there are no technical problems, in continuity. We use a 3/4 inch format here, and they come in cassette form. Here's Airplane. The tapes are loaded into the machines. The operators come along and set up a clock, which will start the machine. They program the CRC cards so that the reel will play completely through.
When you think about our 30 channels, part of them are originated from QUBE, from our playback facilities. Part of them are satellite feeds, part of them are microwave feeds, part of them are local stations. It's a number of different sources that, you know, are on your different TV channels.
They're located in Long Island, MTV, and from there they transmit a signal to a satellite station 22,800 miles out in space. That signal is then transmitted back to a ground station, an Earth station, which we receive here at QUBE. It comes in through our head-end into a satellite receiver. From that, we put it through our switcher, and it goes out over C7.
Back in April 1978, we started satellite service for the first time, and we were carrying Channel 17 Atlanta and the USA Network. Well, since that time, we're now carrying 13 different feeds off the satellite.
When you station a satellite exactly 22,800 or so miles out in space, it's in direct alignment with the rotation of the Earth. So as the Earth rotates, the satellite rotates. So you can take an Earth station and point it directly at that satellite, and it'll always be there. It's impressive, huh?
There are more satellites up there that we could be choosing programming from. So when you think of QUBE and 30 channels, it is already an old system. You know, all of our new systems are coming up with 60+ channels, only because the product has increased so incredibly since we first started back in 1977. It's just boom. This is a booming industry, and there's just more to come.
We will expand eventually. The problem we have is that the cable that we have strung throughout the community is just capable of carrying so many channels, and we can probably get a few more channels out of it. We're working on something like that for maybe in the next couple of years, but to really improve our channel capacity to any great degree, it's going to be quite some time.
And roll V1, ready to fit up on V1, sound on, and fit up V1, sound on. It's telling me.
Central Ohio's cable television.
I doubt if you have control yet.
This is QUBE.
No, and you don't have any Chiron for those.
Chiron, this is B. I need some opening Chiron on K2. Ready to dissolve to 2 with tape sound under mic and EQ, and ready to push in on 2.
Holy cow, I lied.
Ready to dissolve to 2 with tape sound under mic and EQ. And dissolve 2, tape sound under mic Q.
Good afternoon, and welcome to Friday's edition of Soap Scoop. Hey, we've got 3 great soaps for you today.
Everything for the show is set up before it goes in by people in production. The writing is done, the scripting for the show, the set is decided upon, constructed, set up in the studio. All of these things are brought together, and when it comes time for the show, the director is basically the ultimate person in charge. Everybody that's on headsets listens to and takes commands only from the director. He is the commanding general. He knows everything that he wants, or should, and starts making commands on that.
The reason that directing live shows is so hectic is, first of all, because it is live. The show starts at a set time. There's nothing you can do about that, and you have to be done at a set time. And that's just the start of it. Everything else is supposed to go exactly in order.
We play it right here, so stay with us.
And dissolve effects start up full. Ready to roll V1. And roll V1. Ready, dissolve V1, clean send on. Dissolve V1, clean send on.
No, she said in the meeting that last answer would take about a minute at the time.
The what?
Running my heart out.
What?
That reminds me of another time I ran my heart out.
Okay, everybody at home base. Good on K2.
The fact that we get so tense in there and so pumped
45.
is that everybody knows that there's it's live. You make mistakes, and mistakes always are happening on shows.
I'm convinced that a lot of the mistakes that happen in control rooms go unnoticed by viewers at home. Because I've had shows in here that were real abominations, but I've gone home and watched the replay, and it didn't look nearly as bad.
And I will be back in
spin
just
your
a
car,
minute.
bring it under, ready, dissolve K2, 2, card full, dissolve K2, 2, card full. And pan left, demo downlights down.
A lot of the jargon goes along with this industry just like any other business. The pieces of equipment have specific names, different techniques have different names by call. And one of the first things that people do get down is the jargon, you're right, so that they know what's going on. By the time they've worked on it and worked with a director on several shows for any length of time, it becomes like a string of very simple commands. Breathe, exhale.
The little red light comes on, and you have to make it happen. You have one chance at it, and if you blow it, you blow it. Just like as if you were an actor on a stage.
In this business, that's what it all comes down to. You can practice on tape all you want to. The final test is being able to make a good live presentation of anything.
We do so much programming here, and such diverse programming, that our people here get more experience in 6 months than they will in 3 years in a television station. And I have to tell you, having worked and managed production staffs in San Francisco and in Chicago and in Washington and for a while in Boston, I will put the production and the operations staff in this building head and shoulders above any of them. This is a first-rate group.
Yeah, that's okay. Change page. Ready, dissolve 2, clean. And Barry's going to be seen. Have him settle down and dissolve 2, clean. Change page. Ready, dissolve K2, 2, dissolve K2, 2. Roll tape. Ready, dissolve tape, clean, sound on. And dissolve tape, clean, sound on. Woof.
Close to $20,000 in valuable merchandise, so plan to be with us at 8 sharp every Tuesday night, and you may be our next grand prize winner. That's
in 5. Ready to fade on and fade to black.
on QUBE T1.
And
Touch with winner.
fade on and fade to black.
America's first interactive television. This is QUBE, Columbus.